Hey BT families, KJ Bigler coming at you here from the facility this year instead of from the Highland House in Mequon. I'd much rather be there talking to you guys in person. I've never really enjoyed talking at a camera, but I think this is the best way to handle the situation based on the COVID and all the restrictions and things we're under. So the other advantage to this is you guys will be able to watch this whenever you want or review back to it if you need to. But the purpose for this is obviously to try and go from A to Z and run down the program as much as we possibly can, so you guys have all the details and what you're going to need to know when it comes to the fall, winter, and obviously spring and summer seasons as we get going here. So first of all, welcome aboard. Thank you for being with us this year. There's obviously a ton of other clubs out there and a ton of other options for you guys to be playing. So we do definitely appreciate you being with us, and we're very excited, especially for you new guys, to be on board with us and getting going here pretty darn quickly here as we're talking to you here the last week in August. So without further ado, let me kind of get into the program. What we are going to do is send you a copy of what I've got here that's going to kind of give you a rundown exactly point by point that I'm going to go over, so you guys can take some notes as you watch this if need be. And I think that's the easiest way for you guys to kind of roll through this, and we'll kind of try and go in order so that there's, it's easy for you guys to kind of pick up wherever you left off if you need to do that when you're watching this, so you can refer back to it if you need to. Okay, as far as my background, guys, just a little bit of the history of BT and just a little bit on myself. The club has been in existence for 7 years. We're starting our 8th year coming up here this fall in the next few weeks. Very excited about what we've got planned this year. Most of our coaches are back, as far as the game coaches and the winter coaches that we'll be using for the program in the winter. And very excited to get started very soon here, as we mentioned. Me personally, I grew up in Mequon, and I've been in the North Shore area my entire life. I know the area extremely well. Went to Homestead High School, played at Concordia College, which is now University, which is where Capco Field is at. Field was a little bit different back then than it is now, but kind of nice going back to my alma mater once in a while as well. From there, I got an unbelievable opportunity to coach a college baseball team at the age of 24. I was hired to coach the Cardinal Stritch College team, which was only in existence for 2 years before I got there, and was there for 6 years, and was given the collegiate, the LMC, Lake Michigan Conference Coach of the Year award my 3rd year there at Stritch. So really kind of one of the bigger honors I've ever received, and that's how I got my feet wet and cut my teeth in coaching. I then went to Whitefish Bay and coached for 8 years there as the head coach there, and from there, just a few years before I ended that stint, kind of started Bigler Sports and Bigler Baseball. So we started with camps, and then we evolved into everything that we do now, from fall ball to the club teams to tournaments, lessons, the facility we've got here in Cedarburg, and what we do here. So it's really morphed into a lot of different things over the last 13 years. It'll be, I'll start year 14 right after Thanksgiving, coming up here in November. So that's a little bit of the history of myself and of the club and the business. As far as me personally, the other thing I want you guys to know is that I am a Christian, do follow the Bible, and we kind of try and weave some of those principles into some of the things that we do here, as far as how to handle yourself on the field and off the field, how to be a good teammate, some of those things. So I want to be very upfront about that. But the other thing you need to know is I really, really care about these kids. I really care about your kids, and every single one of them. And I think the advantage that I may talk about a little bit later of our program is it's small enough to where we can get to know every single one of you. And that's been the fun part, especially for some of you guys that are returning. We get to know you better and better the more that you're with us. And I think it's a real advantage for us to be a little smaller, because we can really operate more as a family. And I think that's the way I like to run this club. It's run more like a high school. It's run more like a family. It's not some factory where there's 300 kids running around and nobody knows anybody, and everybody's pretty selfish. Again, I'll get into that a little bit as far as what I think one of the problems are with club baseball. But it's a little bit different here. So again, I want to thank you for being here, and hopefully that gives you a little bit more about me and the history of where we are and where we're going from here. let's talk about how the program works. And I know I've talked to many of you on the phone on the side about this, but let's kind of walk through it, because these details are very important, and there's certain details as far as practice times and how we run the different teams through that I definitely want you to make note of. So let's start with that. Obviously, some of you guys will be getting together this Sunday and meeting your coach and getting into the facility for the first time and meeting your teammates. A couple of you will be getting together at your first practice, and we'll be starting to get to know one another and get going there. But we do anticipate you guys getting going in the next 7 to 10 days from today in regards to starting to practice and starting to get to know one another and starting to get going. So again, right around the corner, we're very excited about that. Once you get going, we're going to be practicing at least, I would say, twice a week, depending on the schedule of tournaments, of course, on the weekends. You guys should have all gotten that schedule. There's still 1 or 2 out there we're making final decisions on or waiting on confirmation, but you should have that in the next couple of days. So you should have your tournament schedule for the fall. And obviously your game coaches are going to take it from here. So once you guys view this, once you guys get through this weekend or your first practice, the game coaches are going to kind of take it, and they're going to be communicating with you a lot more than I will as far as when practices are and what the changes are as we go. When it comes to administrative stuff, when it comes to the financial piece, when it comes to things that are outside of just the actual coaching or team structure stuff, that will obviously be myself and my assistants Nate and Kelly. But obviously the coaches will kind of take charge a little bit more once you guys get started here very soon. The fall, you've got, again, your schedule, you've got 3 tournaments for the 15s, 16s, and 17s. The 14s, you guys will just play 1, and that's a tournament that's probably going to be sometime in October, and we're anticipating the Dells, but we'll let you know that this Sunday. Otherwise, we'll sprinkle in some scrimmages and practices and be done about mid-October. So once we hit that time frame, you will have about 6 weeks off. And we do want you to take a little time off. There may be some times where we get together for an optional hitting practice or we do some stuff during that time, but we want to shut the arms down. We want to get you guys a little bit of rest before you start hard after Thanksgiving. So once we get into our winter program, that's a big part of our program. Again, don't have official dates, but we're going to start sometime after Thanksgiving. As you guys know, the situation is very fluid. We just found out a week ago that the WIA is pushing back spring baseball, I think until April 16th or 17th. So that's going to change our structure just a little bit in the winter, because I think we're going to be able to go a little bit longer into March based on that structure, based on that schedule. But we'll continue to monitor that situation over the next several weeks and next several months. But anticipate starting on a Sunday, either in late November or early December. We'll take a break once we hit 2 or 3 days before Christmas. We'll take about a 10-12 day break, and then we'll get going right away in January. And we'll again run until probably the end of March instead of mid-March if things don't change from there. The practices are on Wednesdays and Sundays. Now here's the way we set it up. 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock on Wednesday is when we're going to have the younger teams come in. And we anticipate the 14s and 15s being part of those 2 hours, those practices. And then the 16s and 17s will come in from 7 to 9. Now the caveat there is we have 5 teams, and so we're going to have to look at the 16s, and we're going to have to make a decision if we move an entire team or if we move some guys from the 7 to 9 to the 5 to 7 based on numbers. We can accommodate 30 plus kids in here very easily based on how we structure it, based on the facility, based on the number of coaches that are here. But we certainly don't want 45 to 50 guys here at once. So we'll monitor that situation as we get all your paperwork in, because as you guys know, some of you do play other sports and some of you guys will not be here during the week. So we're going to obviously know a lot more in the next 2 to 3 weeks, how many of you are playing other sports, how many of you will not be here or will be a Sunday only option kind of a situation. And then we'll take a look at numbers, and we'll be going through the coaches, and obviously I'll be communicating with you directly as we get into September and October in regards to who's going to go to what practice. We would certainly prefer that you guys are with your team during those Wednesday and Sunday practices, but it's certainly not a deal breaker if you're not, because it's the same practice, it's the same coaches, it's just obviously different kids or different people that will be here while they're there. So some of you have asked me, hey, if he's got basketball practice till 6:30, can he come at 7 instead of at 5 because his team's supposed to be here at 5? Yes, the answer to that is yes. We definitely want them here if they can be, but it's a situation where we don't want 12 guys doing that, so that again we have too many at one practice at one time. So it's going to be a little bit fluid when we get through the next 3 to 6 weeks as we figure out. Some of you would ask me, hey, you're not sure if they're going to wrestle, you're not sure if they're going to play basketball, if they make it, are we even going to have basketball with the COVID situation? Obviously things are very fluid right now in general, right? So we're going to give you time to make that decision. We're certainly not going to force you guys to say, hey, we need to know this week if you're going to be a full-time guy or a Sunday-only guy. So we'll just do the best we can to stay in communication with you and you with us in regards to how that's going to pan out, how this is going to play out, and we'll figure it out. Not worried about it at all. But typically we have 2-ish teams practicing at once, and we'll try and keep one team kind of on the fielding and pitching and the other team on the hitting, and then go back and forth based on the different areas and different drills and how many guys are here and the time that we have and what we've got planned. So that's kind of how the winter program will roll. The other things you need to know are, we have a Saturday only, or a Saturday open gym time from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Saturday that anybody is welcome to come to. So it doesn't matter if you're on the 14U team or the 17U team, you are welcome to be here. And typically, if we have 50 to 60 guys in the club, we might have 8 to 15 guys here. And that's just based on the last 7 years past history as far as numbers. Obviously, if you're playing other sports, if you're living a little bit further away, you had conflicts on the weekends, well, there's only going to be so many of you that can make it, but we certainly encourage you to be here. There's just a coach or two here. I'm typically here hitting ground balls, helping out with a little BP here and there, whatever the guys are looking for or want some help with, but it's more a time for them to just get reps. It's more of a time for them to just get some time to actually just work through whatever they're working through to try and get better and give them some more reps. From there, this year we're going to make another change, and it's a good one. I'm excited about it, and I think it's going to really help each team and again give the guys an additional night of practice and some more time in here. We're going to set up a team practice either on a Tuesday or a Thursday right away in December for those 4 months that will just be with their team. And their team coaches, I should say. Now, we may have 2 teams in here at once again, especially during the week like that, because if we have half the team missing with other sports, we know that we're not going to get everybody here. But hopefully we'll get the majority of the guys here, and we'll be able to have a chance for them to actually work directly with their game coach and have a little bit more access with them throughout the winter, as opposed to just the guys that are going to be doing the coaching piece, or the higher level guys in the winter that they'll be doing a little bit more learning from. So you're going to have a Tuesday or a Thursday practice. We'll come up with those exact dates and times after I go through the coaches and we check with people's schedules, and we'll figure that out very soon. But it's going to be one of those 2, sometime between 5 and 9 o'clock. And then you've got the Wednesday practices from either 5 to 7, 7 to 9. Sundays are going to be from 11:30 to 2, 11:30 a.m. to 2 would be the older guys. We're going to have the 16s and 17s coming then, and we're going to have the younger guys, 14s and 15s, again, possibly some of the 16s, from 2 o'clock to 4:30. Now, how the Sundays will work is the first 30 minutes will be strength and conditioning. And they will be tossing some medicine balls, they'll be doing some box steps, they'll be doing some things that, again, we highly recommend, highly believe in, and want to make sure we're weaving into the practices as much as possible. The next 2 hours will obviously be the practice itself. One thing you need to know about the Sundays, and one thing that I think separates our program a little bit more from others, is we have what's called a classroom session, or a classroom station, if you will, upstairs. That is used for baseball IQ, video analysis, some of the mental pieces and parts of the game that I really don't think are taught all that much. And I think it separates us, again, a little bit from others as far as what we want to try and give them upstairs on a Sunday during the winter. Sometimes we'll bring in a guest speaker, somebody that's played from around here, that's playing in the minors, that's played in the majors, one of our coaches here that can kind of give their testimony or personal story, what it really takes to get to that level that these guys are trying to get to. So we're going to do some things a little bit differently, and that I believe in deeply, that I think really help the guys take a look at what pitches are they swinging at when they go into the batter's box, for example, as opposed to just going up there hacking. Things that you would think a lot of these guys should know or would already have thought through, but we're finding out through the years, especially the younger guys, really haven't spent enough time thinking about those things and going a little bit deeper into the game itself as opposed to just the mechanical and physical part of it. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of flavor of that. Let's talk a little bit more about the strength and conditioning right away as well. We did have Luke Meter was with us last year. Was a fantastic coach and fantastic teacher of the strength and conditioning. Unfortunately, he is going to be doing some other things this winter, but the good news is he is going to still be part of things. He's still going to help us out. He's still going to help us design a program. He'll still be around. He just won't be here full time, and he won't be running things quite the same way. But Mike Getz, who is our lead hitting instructor, has been working very closely with him this past year and did sub in for him a little bit last year as well. He's going to take over that piece when it comes to the 30 minutes on Sundays and teaching things during the week a little bit as well. So that part of it Mike will take over officially, but Luke will still be involved. So we're very excited about, again, that portion or piece of that, and think it's an extremely important piece that the guys really need to focus on and really get their hands dirty with, because what we're finding out, guys, is some of the things that, especially on the pitching, that we're trying to teach your kids, they're not strong enough. They're not actually able to perform some of the things that we want or need them to perform to throw harder, to get better, because they're not strong enough in certain areas. Well, that's where the strength and conditioning comes in. So I know I've talked to several of you about that. I know you guys are excited about that as well. And we want to make sure that we have somewhat of a program designed for these guys through Luke and Mike, that even when they're not doing it here, they can do it on the side. They can come in here, which we'll talk about in a second, and do that on their own, so that they can really focus on that even more this year. One thing that you need to know about the Tuesday and Thursday practices as well is we do plan on having Mike here to run the guys through some strength and conditioning stuff during that practice during the week with just their team. So we won't be doing that so much on Wednesdays, but on either Tuesday or Thursday we'll focus on strength and conditioning this year with Mike. And I think what the plan is to do a little bit more of the weight type stuff on the Tuesday or Thursday, and do the more of the conditioning part, if you will, on Sundays. So that's pretty much the plan between the two sessions that we plan on utilizing or doing the strength and conditioning stuff with during the week. And then we're going to work closely with those two to kind of make sure that the guys know what they need to be doing even outside of those times, so that they can do what they need to do and get done what they need to get done in order to get stronger and get better. Once we get through the winter program, guys, obviously we're assuming and hoping that they're going to be playing with their high school this year. Obviously the 14s are in a different situation. They will continue to practice into April, and we'll get started with the tournaments in April. We usually head to St. Louis the first or second week in April and get our feet wet right away, get them to a warmer climate, and get them started a little bit further away. But then obviously as we get into end of April and May, we start playing at some of the woodsides and Kenosha's and Rocks and things like that in regards to the tournaments that we have. The rest of the guys will obviously be playing with their high school. And again, if things get pushed back a little bit, we're going to have to adjust accordingly. My understanding is it's going to be mid-June before we'll get the guys back, but I think as long as it's mid-June or earlier, we should be fine. And we'll start rolling with tournaments right away after that. So again, it's going to be a little different with the 15s as opposed to the 16s and 17s, based on if they're playing varsity or not and how far they go into the playoffs. And that's always a little tricky as we get into June. But more information will be coming out about that as we get closer. We'll be working with the game coaches. We'll be coming up with that summer schedule mid-December, late December, early January. We would anticipate having the summer schedule out and done and in your guys' hands, so you can start planning for those in June and July next year. Again, it's 5 tournaments is what we're planning. I've talked to many of you about this, but it's typically 3 of the 5 are going to be a hotel stay. They're going to be a little further away. Again, we're talking about Kentucky, St. Louis, Lansing, Michigan, something in southern Illinois, or something, in central Illinois. Those would be some of the hot spots. I think another one is Bettendorf, Iowa. It's got a really nice complex just a couple years ago that opened up. We went to last year. We anticipate going to this year. So those would be some of the areas we would hit outside of the state. And then again, we're going to look at the Dells or Kenosha or the Rock or some of the places like Geneva around here that we can play in some very competitive tournaments but not have to travel all over the place to do so. So I am going to work with the game coaches with each team in regards to that schedule, and I do give each team some say as to which tournaments we want to go to and how we want to handle the travel and how we want to go to where we want to go or need to go based on each team being just a little bit different. So that's kind of how the summer will roll. You'll obviously be practicing during the week. We may have a scrimmage here and there. We don't play in a league during the summer, but that's by design. I just think there's way too much going on if we're going to be playing a couple games a week and tournaments on the weekends and trying to get some practices in, that it's just a little bit too much. So we're going to try and weave in some scrimmages, obviously some practices, depending on how the guys are doing, what they need to work on, how the tournament schedule's playing out, the weather, all of it, right? It's always going to be a fluid situation. But each coach or each team will handle things in the best way possible or what's best for their team. And obviously I am constantly keeping track of that and going through the game coaches and working with them almost on a daily basis as we roll through the summer schedule. So I think that's pretty much A to Z how this program is going to work and what's going to happen between this coming Sunday and into next week and next summer. Hopefully that's given you what you need to know and the times and what you need to plan on when you start looking at your calendars as you get into past the fall and the winter time. If you do have any questions on that, obviously, as you watch this and as we get into the next few weeks, certainly either go through your game coaches or let me know that. I guess the last thing I did want to mention is the staff that we have during those winter workouts. You guys can see on the website, I think a lot of you have looked at that, a lot of you guys know that, but the names that we have there and the guys that we have doing what they're doing are phenomenal. They're just very good at what they do, guys. They are professional about it. Their demeanor is awesome. They're very personable with the guys, and they're going to really bring a lot to the table, and they're going to give I think a lot of information and a lot of feedback, a lot of good stuff over the winter time for the guys to chew on and for the guys to work on and get better at. So no need for me to mention all their names and their credentials. You can look that up online, but the guys like Mike Getz and Paul Wagner, Drew Pearson, Glenn Preston, those guys have been with me for 4, 5, 6 years now. And the continuity that we have there is awesome. And I think especially as the kids are here for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, that only helps us to help them even more. So really proud of and pleased with that winter program, and really want to stress how important that is, and how much they're going to get out of it. And they're going to get out of it what they put into it, of course. So that's something I'll stress in a second as well, but really want to hammer that point home, because that's what's obviously going to make them better, and why you guys are doing this, and why I hope they're here. So that is the biggest piece I think we needed to cover, and stuff that you needed to know. Let's roll down some other stuff that shouldn't take nearly as long, but things you need to know, and things that I think are important as well. First of all, uniforms. What's going to happen is they're going to get a fall uniform and they're going to get a summer uniform. The reason for that is the summer uniforms are sublimated. They're going to have their name and number on the back. So this is the gray button down that they'll receive. And then this is the one the guys seem to like the most, kind of the Astros retro kind of look that they will get, again with their name and number on the back. So these are pretty slick, they're very comfortable, but they take 6 to 8 weeks for us to order. So you're not going to be receiving those in time really in the fall in order for us to do it. So what we do in the fall is we order something like this. Again, it's more of just a dry fit with their number on the back that they're going to wear for the fall tournaments. Again, very comfortable, something pretty basic, but I think all that we need to have them have. This may not be exactly what they're going to be getting, but it's going to be something very similar. Every year I switch it up just a little bit, so that the guys that are returners have something a little bit different or something new. The helmet is, again, something they will get in the summer, but this is what that looks like. And again, socks and belt. You can see the 2 hats here that they will receive. And the pants are more of a the white with the pinstripe, the Columbia blue. They will get 1 pair right away in the fall, and they'll get another 2 pair as you get into the spring summer season. If for some reason you're looking to try and get a second pair of pants right away in the fall, just let me know that, and or if they rip one, or if they're hard on one, or whatever. They're going to end up with at least 3 pair as part of what you're paying and part of the program. Okay, so that's the uniform piece. Spirit wear. That's something that we do in November before Christmas. If you guys are interested in purchasing similar stuff like this, obviously we'll have, I'm wearing a polo. We typically don't have stuff that high end, or you know, we don't go too verbose when it comes to the spirit wear stuff, but obviously t-shirts, hats, some different items on there with the BT logos on it will be available to you guys as we get into November for Christmas, and then we'll do it again in the spring as you get into the summer season, that you guys can obviously order or be a part of, support the club in that way. Obviously that's pretty universal for any team your kids have ever played on. Totally your call if you want to be a part of something like that, but that information will be coming around those 2 different time frames as we get the season going. Fundraising. The good news there is, guys, we don't require it. We don't have any fundraising. You don't have to sell pizzas or cookies or t-shirts in order to raise money, in order to help you pay your fees. We'll talk about the paperwork and the fees, you know, in several minutes here down the line, but bottom line is there's nothing required. We do have a program through Hutera that I think there's others out there that are very similar, where you go shopping online and we get you hooked up with this company and it tracks everything, and obviously you're getting a couple of pennies, a nickel, a dime, you know, per dollar based on where you're shopping, what you're buying, how much it is, and you can raise some funds for your BT fees by doing that if you'd like. It's completely optional. We started this last year. We had about a dozen, maybe up to as many as 18 people doing some stuff with it last year. And a handful of people that raised quite a bit of money. So it's really up to you guys. You can get your family members, your relatives, your friends involved, doing that for you as well. My assistant Kelly will set you up with more information about that. I think she may have even mentioned in the original email already. But that's a program that is, again, completely optional and something you can take advantage of if you'd like, to help you raise some money. And we all have to go shopping anyway, right? So figured that's a good way for you guys to take advantage of something like that if you want to, but it's certainly not required. Let's talk about hotel rooms for a second. Probably an area of the club that I hate the most, and I'm so grateful that Kelly takes care of all that for me, because it's every year it seems to get worse. It's complicated. A lot of these tournaments are requiring, almost every single one now, requires us to go through their website, their hospitality coordinator, in order to book these rooms and these blocks that we're going to be sending you for these tournaments, guys, when we're out of town. We have very little flexibility anymore in regards to where we want to go or what we want to do. Now, I will say most of them do have 12, 15, 20 different options for us, so we certainly do have some options, but we have to go through whatever those are through that tournament. Otherwise, we get fined or dinged, what have you, right? So just know that we kind of have to go that route. I know some of you have asked, hey, we get points through Hilton, or we'd rather go here if we can. Again, every year that gets a little tougher to work that out for you, so hopefully you can plan on being part of that block. Plus you're staying at the same place as the rest of your team, which again, I think you're going to want to do. Part of the fun of traveling and doing this is getting the kids together, right? Getting you guys out to dinner, get them in the pool, that kind of thing. Building that team chemistry and whatnot. So, but Kelly takes care of all that. Please look for information for these fall tournaments very soon, probably later this week, if not early next week, in regards to the ones that you'll have to travel for in the fall. But Kelly will work that out in January, February kind of thing, before we get to the summer, that you'll need to be looking for that information as we get there, to be able to get a room and sign up through that block. And we do get a nice discount going through there. We always look for hotel rooms that have a pool, that have a continental breakfast in the morning, and that are obviously as close to the field as possible, and the price is certainly part of what we're looking for as well. So she does a phenomenal job at doing and coming up with the best options we can when it comes to that, when it comes to the travel. But that's kind of how that rolls, or how we handle that. I've already talked about the open gyms on Saturday, guys, but something different this year, and I do apologize, I have not been able to work out all the details yet or how this is going to work exactly, but more so this year than any other year, we want the guys to be able to come in here more often and utilize the facility when they're not practicing. Now, that can be a little tricky because we don't normally have an adult here, have an employee here. If there's not an official practice, if there's not something officially going on. I do have cameras up. You guys will be signing waivers, so we're going to work this out one way or another, but I do plan on at least having, like on a Monday or a Friday or a Saturday evening, some more open gym times or times where the guys can come in here and get additional reps and work in. The other thing, especially as we get into January, February, and March, this place is going to be fairly booked outside of the practices that they are normally scheduled for. But we have a cage right behind me over here, right in front of me, I should say, that 50-foot cage that they could utilize at any time for soft toss, tee work. Some strength and conditioning stuff might take place down there as well, but also upstairs. The upstairs area will be available to them pretty much 24/7. The rest of the facility will kind of be locked down with other teams coming in here or other things going on, but they will be able to get their strength and conditioning in. They will be able to get some swings in. They will be able to maybe do some stuff in the classroom outside of their normal practices that we've already talked about. So I'm excited about that, and I will work on a little bit more detail when it comes to how that's going to work in regards to getting them in here outside of their normal practices. But that is the goal and that is the plan, and I will do the best I can to put something together sooner rather than later, as the guys want to continue to take advantage of more reps and more time, and I think that's what we want to. It's just a matter of logistics. So please know that that's something that is going to take place even more so than before, and we'll work out the details soon. I also mentioned the strength and conditioning that's another topic, but I kind of went into that earlier. Again, guys, please know how important that piece is and how much we want the guys really getting their hands dirty when it comes to that part of the program. And we will get as specific as possible with each group of guys when it comes to what they should be doing when they're not here, because that, to me, is a big part of what's going on with this program. Because, again, what they're getting here is great, but we all know that it does take time outside of your normal practices to really get stronger, really get better at something. So, again, we'll maybe talk about that in a few minutes as well in a little bit more detail. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to turn it over to my assistant Nate, who is going to talk a little bit more about the website that we use and how he takes charge of that, and some recruiting, which is always a piece of club baseball, right? And an interesting part, or a part that's important that you're going to need to know a little bit more about when it comes to how he can help you and how our club can help you open up some doors and look at some college situations or some college openings as they start to get a little bit more specific or need that information. So, Nate?
Thanks, KJ. So, for those of you that don't know, my name's Nate. A little bit about me. I played at Grafton High School, so I'm a local guy. All conference, all state there, and then I was able to go on to play Division II college baseball at Truman State University. My freshman year, I was fortunate enough to play in the Division II World Series, so that was a great opportunity. Unfortunately, had my playing career cut short a little bit, but got a jump start on my college coaching career then. I was a volunteer assistant coach at Truman. Then I came back and coached at Port Washington High School as well for a little bit. And now I'm currently the pitching coach at Wisconsin Lutheran College, if you couldn't tell. So this is the second year that I've been doing that. And now I'm also the U17 game coach as well. So a little bit about me. So my duties at Bigler, I do run the Big Time Baseball website. So what that includes is all the social media and different aspects with that. So please make sure that if you guys like taking pictures, email them to me and I can get them on the website, get them on social media. So we do tournament previews, different things like that. Hoping to expand a little bit more, get some tournament recaps, some different social media aspects that we're looking to expand upon. So that website will have the tournament schedules as well. So once the game schedules come out, I'll update the website and you can check that, send that to college coaches, anything like that as well. We have player profiles on that website, so we'll be taking headshots. If you guys want to take the headshots, that'd be great. You can just send them to me, and then we'll get information from the kids, and we'll get those updated. You can send those to college coaches. We have links. There's a way to put links in there too, so PBR profiles, skills video links, anything like that, you can send those out to college coaches, and it's a really, really good tool to make sure that everyone's getting the right information. It's a little bit about what I'm doing for recruiting and college recruiting. So this is only for high schools, only for guys that are high school age. So those of you that are 14, turning 14 soon, this is something to look forward to next year. So I'm running my own personal kind of recruiting service. This will start in September and run through the end of May. So what this is it's monthly webinars about different topics in college recruiting. Different things like social media usage, talking to college coaches, just finding the right college for you. Different things that you might think about, but it's not something that you really know how to get started. So this is where I want to help. So the monthly webinars, I'll be sending out weekly email updates as well with showcases that you guys should check out, different things that you guys should be doing as we continue on throughout the whole process. Because it's quite a big process, and it's something that with just one meeting a month, it wouldn't be quite enough. So this is something that you guys got to do pretty much every day. This also includes skills videos as well. So skills videos are essentially snapshots and highlights of your kid playing. So it's batting practice, bullpen sessions, taking ground balls, taking footwork, different things like that to make sure that the college coaches can see you play in as close to in-game action as you can. And as a college coach, this is a big part of recruiting. I don't go out to many showcases, but I watch hundreds of videos. So that's something that's very important as you start looking at the recruiting process, making sure that you have some sort of skills video. Something also that's included with that, I do proofread emails to college coaches. So you got to talk to college coaches somehow, and the email is the best way to introduce yourself and the best way to communicate. And then if they want to text, if they want to call, whatever, then that's a good way to start talking to them as well. Since I am a college coach, it's a unique opportunity for you guys to get comfortable talking to a college coach and realize that they're just people. People that you want to make sure that you understand, and it can be a little stressful talking to college coaches. I definitely understand that, so I want to make sure that the kids are as comfortable talking to one as they possibly can be. So make sure that you guys are looking for a PDF probably when this video gets sent out about the recruiting service that I'm running. We'll be having free Zoom meetings, consultations about 30 minutes long, just to talk about the program if you're interested. You can send me an email. My email will be all over the place, and I'll probably be sending it out to everybody to make sure that we know that, to get pictures and different things like that as well. So apart from the package itself, I also do skills videos. So if you guys want skills videos but don't want the package, I can do that as well. So just make sure that you let me know. I'm here to help you guys as much as I can with getting recruited to go play in college, because ultimately when you get to be playing at this level, that's kind of the end goal, is to play at college. So I think that's all that I have for recruiting and the website. So I'm going to turn it back over to KJ to finish up, and we'll get you guys on your way.
All right, thanks, Nader. One thing a couple things. Number one, please pay close attention to what Nate is sending, and what he's got is awesome. He's going to be a tremendous resource in that area, and I think it's obviously something you guys are going to be interested in, or it's an important piece. Secondly, his father, who's also helping him coach, typically does, and anticipate again this year, having a program that we put on in mid-February, typically on a Sunday afternoon, and we kind of use that as part of that practice for him to give you guys kind of an overview of a lot of some of the stuff that Nate mentioned, or just give you some general tips, background information that you guys, I think, need to be aware of. And I think it's been extremely beneficial and helpful for the people that have attended over the past number of years, and I really thank him publicly here for doing that over the last 5 or 6 years now, and anticipate him doing that again. And I'm sure Nate will probably be a part of that this year as well. So I'm very excited about what he's got put together and where that's going to take us, what it's going to take you guys, if you want to, by utilizing his services in the future. Okay. Let's roll through what I believe are some of our strengths, maybe a few of our challenges, really some things I may have touched on a bit, but really want to stress, and then let's get into a little bit of the paperwork and stuff just to make sure you're aware of a couple different things I need you to be made aware of there, and let's get this wrapped up. Strengths of the program. I think, again, our number one strength is our size, that we're a little smaller, that we're more of a family, that we're going to get to know your kids over the course of the next 11 months, that we're really going to pay a little closer attention to them than I think most others would have the ability to be able to do. And we really do care. I mean that sincerely, and I think you'll see that when the kids start working out with us, especially you new families, that we really want what's best for your kids. And that's a big part of what I think may separate us a little bit, and kind of just how we run things here and how we roll, and what's part of the culture here, what's taught here, kind of how we treat the kids and how we run the program. So that I believe is our biggest strength. Again, the continuity of the coaches is huge, and the classroom session, again, I think is something that's kind of unique, that gives the kids something to chew on and think about, and help them to expand their mental part of the game as well as the physical. To me, the really biggest challenge for us is the facility. We don't have high ceilings. We don't have an ability for catchers to do pop times or to be able to do a full infield type of a situation where some of these other bigger organizations can. Is it a deal breaker? Is it a true stumbling block or real problem? No, it really is not. The facility, if you haven't been here, is about 10,000 square feet. We've got 3 batting cages now. We added 1 this past year that we can roll out. There's plenty of space to take ground balls, work on double plays, fielding stuff, things of that nature. We've got 2 bullpen mounds and ability to work with 2 pitchers at once. And we've got the space we need in order to do what we need to do to get the kids where they need to go. Again, is the facility sticks or hitters or some of these others, and we have this $4 million palace? We do not. But it's something that I don't believe is going to be a huge factor, and something that you should really truly worry about, but it certainly is what it is. We're not, hopefully that's not the number one reason you're signing up with us, but it is something that we take full advantage of the space we have, and I think we do a great job with that, and it's really not truly a problem, but it can be a bit of a challenge just based on the size of the place. To me, the challenges with club baseball, let's mention those, and I think some of them are fairly obvious. The first is the money piece, right? You guys are paying a lot of money, and whether it's with us or any of these other clubs, right? This is not a cheap date. This is, you know, I'm very upfront about that. The cost of this thing is what it is. I wish it didn't have to be. I wish it wasn't as prohibitive as it is. But to me, the program that we're running, the coaches that we're using, the way that and the quality of the product that we provide, it just puts us in a position to have to charge what we charge. So hopefully everybody understands that, and it's not a huge stumbling block, but it is part of what you're doing, right? It is part of club baseball, is the money that you're paying. So that's always going to be part of club baseball and part of you guys deciding to do this. And that kind of rolls into what the other challenges become, is what are the expectations that you guys have, especially when it comes to playing time, especially when it comes to the opportunities that your sons are getting. And I know the biggest challenge, I think, for any coach in any sport is the lineup card, is the starting lineup, is who is actually on the field, who is playing what and doing what. Those are huge decisions, and those are why the coaches are getting paid. They're the biggest reason, right? And those are tough decisions, guys, and those are going to be based on a lot of different factors. What I've always said in the past is we're certainly not going to take your son to a tournament out of state and have him sit on the bench for 3 or 4 games. It's not going to happen. At the same time, is he only going to play one of the 3 or 4 games? Is he only going to play half a game in the field and DH or EH a game or 2? If he's a pitcher and he only pitches 3 or 4 innings that whole weekend, that may happen. We can't predict that. We don't know how a weekend is going to roll. We don't know if weather's going to play a factor. We don't know if we're only going to play 4 innings in a certain game and we planned on using them a couple innings and we were not able to because of the situation that changed. You guys understand that, obviously, and know that, but at the same time, we got to point it out because the coaches have a real challenge on their hands when it comes to that lineup card and when it comes to trying to give these kids every opportunity. But obviously, the other piece is what? Everybody wants to win. And that's what we're doing. We're playing to win. This is a club. This is not rec ball. This is not where you write your check and everybody gets a chance to play equally, right? That's not the case. And that's not what you guys are signing up for. So it's always going to be a combination between, yes, they're going to play, but no, they're certainly not going to play a certain amount or play the same. And I'm really relying on the game coaches to communicate well with all of you when it comes to playing time, when it comes to how the team is being run, when it comes to the starting lineups, when it comes to playing time. So that, I think they've done a great job of in the past, and that to me is their number one challenge or job, is to make sure that you guys understand and are being communicated with well. And let's be honest, guys, especially as they become 16 and 17-year-olds, they're becoming young adults, and we're really relying on them to come to the coach and talk to them personally about what's going on if they don't understand, if there's something that they really truly need to talk through, rather it being more of a parental issue. So obviously when they're 14, 15, it's a little bit different. They're a little bit younger yet, so there's a fine line between when they turn a certain age and as they roll through our program, but just know that that's obviously a challenge, right? I think just about everything else is pretty universal as far as what they're going to get, as far as the winter program and reps and uniforms and everything else, right? But it's really that lineup card and the playing time and the money that you're paying becomes the issue, right? Because let's be honest, everybody wants their kid to play every inning possible or every inning that there is, and everybody wants to win every game and every tournament that you play, right? So is that possible? Is that going to happen? No, it's not. So with that being said, we got to be real, and we got to make sure that we're being fair with the decisions that are being made, and that are going to be part of that weekend or that season or what have you. But the one thing that I can assure you that will happen and that needs to happen is communication. And that as long as you guys are being upfront, the kids are being upfront with the coaches, and the coaches are being upfront with you as far as how that's being handled, I'm confident that that's not going to be a problem or be an issue. But let's point it out and be real as far as that being kind of the biggest stumbling block and a problem with club baseball. I think the last piece is what I would call selfishness, right? I think you guys all have a goal or a plan in mind for your son. And is it to play college baseball? Is it to play beyond college baseball? Is it not necessarily that? It's going to be a little bit different maybe for all of you based on age and experience and circumstances and changes. But with that being said, you guys all, again, are paying money and have a goal or a plan in mind. And our goal is to help them all at an individual level, but then to have to meld and build and work through that team based on the kids' personalities and based on their desires and goals and needs and what they bring to the table and what they don't. Those are obviously the challenges that you deal with when it comes to pulling a team together and doing what we're doing. So those would be the things that I definitely want to point out, be real about, make sure that we're communicating well, no matter what the issue is, but certainly when it comes to that. because I think that's one of the, definitely the biggest stumbling block when it comes to what we're trying to do here. Okay, one more piece I need to mention, and this is probably the most important part of the video, guys, so please pay attention to this. Been doing this for 7 years and coming up on our 8th. The biggest problem, the biggest challenge, the thing that I really want to hammer home to you guys and to your sons is that they're going to get the most out of this program if they, number one, put the time in, but number two, if they engage with the coaches and they ask questions, they seek information, they're willing to make changes, they are sponges, they want to be here early, they want to stay late, they're asking the coach if they can work on this on the side or do that. And any of us coaches are not going to say no. We, you know, if it comes up spur of the moment, we may not be able to stay later that night if we have a commitment or have to get home or whatever, but there's no coach in here, and that's part of our program, and no coach that's worth his weight in salt that's going to turn down somebody that comes to them and specifically asks to want to get better, because otherwise you shouldn't be coaching if you don't want to help that young man. So my biggest frustration over the last 7 years is that we haven't had enough young men engaging, if you will, with the coaches. The coaches are going to help your sons, but they're not going to force it down their throat. They're going to explain it, they're going to tell them what they think, they're going to ask them to make changes, they're going to seek them to tweak things, but it's up to them to do it. It's up to them to accept it. It's up to them to work on it and to ask questions and to make sure that they're understanding it and that they're getting the most out of it based on that. So I can't say that enough, and I will talk to your sons about it when they first come into this program in the fall, when they come in here in the wintertime. I understand some of them are a little shy. I understand some of them might be a little intimidated at times. That may be a problem. Maybe they have to wait until the big group is over and corner the coach later. But whatever it is, we've had a few issues in the past where we haven't been able to get information to your kids because that's been getting in the way. So please make sure you talk to them about this. Make sure that they are taking advantage of the coaching and the people, the information that is here. Because if they don't, then this is not going to help them very much. And they're not going to get a lot better, and they're not going to take advantage of what you're paying for and what you want for them. So that is something that I cannot stress enough. We do take attendance, but we only do it just to make sure we know who's here and who isn't, especially in the wintertime. If we're expecting somebody here and maybe there's some snow and somebody's in a ditch or something, number one. We do ask that you guys communicate with us if you can't be here at a practice, so that we can keep track of that a little bit better as well from a safety standpoint and just from a logistical standpoint. We're certainly not, as a coaching staff, going to be judging you or, you know, getting upset with you necessarily or taking away playing time if you're not here when you're supposed to be here. But the conundrum is, the less they're here, the less they're hearing, the less they're working, the less they're able to get better, and their teammates are here. That's obviously going to play a factor or a part, right? Because even though they're all on the same team, even though we're all on their team and we want the best for them, when there's 12, 13, 14 kids on these teams and it comes down to who's going to play in that championship game or that playing game, it's going to come down to who's made more progress, who is the better player, who are the best 9 for that game, because that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to come down to. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you guys understand how important just attendance, number one, being receptive and asking questions, number two, having a work ethic and a desire to learn, number three, and engaging with these coaches overall, and how important that is to their success and to them getting the most out of this. Okay, let's talk just a little bit about the paperwork and about the money part. Kelly has done a great job putting that email together and all the paperwork that you should have received via PDF. I've had a few questions coming in here and there about some things. I think the number one issue has been, do I have to commit to Sunday only or not? No, you don't have to right now. The more you can, I guess, helps us out as we start to build how many kids are going to be here for each of the practices. But we will, again, give you guys some time and get into that a little bit as we get into the fall if there's still some ambiguity there. A couple of things I want to point out in regards to the parental rules of conduct. I am a dad and a husband of 3. I forgot to mention that earlier. My wife Michelle and I have been married for 15 plus years. I have a daughter, Abby, who's 14, a son, Zachary, who's 11, and a son, Mason, who's 9. So they're a little bit younger, but they are getting there, and they are all playing sports. And so I feel your pain, guys, when it comes to getting your sons and daughters where they need to go, how logistics can be when it comes to getting them around. I'm right there with you. So again, we're going to give you every latitude, when it comes to conflicts and things that come up as we roll through the rest of this season. But with that being said, as parents, we all tend to get a little bit excited when our kids are out there and when our teams are out there. So we got to make sure that we're keeping ourselves in check. And one of the things, again, that I hope separates our club a little bit more from some of the others is how our kids are acting on and off the field and how we as parents and coaches are acting on and off the field. So when you guys are at these tournaments, a couple things I just, again, want to emphasize. Number one, when it comes to getting a little bit overly excited at an umpire's call, at things that aren't going our way, we need to nip that in the bud, guys. We need to bite our tongue, bite our lip, try and let the officials do their job, and let's please try and keep it to ourselves. Not only when it comes to the umpires and to the game itself, but also even to our own team. I think at times we get a little overly frustrated with one of the other young men on your son's team as to something they did or something that affected the game or the team. And again, frustration is normal, but how we handle that and how we communicate that, guys, is something else. So please, again, cooler heads need to prevail, and we need to make sure we're keeping ourselves in check when it comes to how we're acting and behaving at these tournaments, because I know they can get a little bit stressful, exciting, whatever terms you want to use there. So I want to make sure we point that out. Secondly, we want to, especially you 14 and 15, parents, I get it. They're a little bit younger yet, and you're going to tend to want to coach a little bit more from the stands and conjugate around the dugout and make sure your son has water and this and that and the other thing. We want to try and refrain from that as much as possible. Once that game starts, we really want to stay away from that dugout area, away from doing that and letting the coaches do that. So I want to emphasize that as well, and hopefully you guys understand that. Certainly if you have questions for the coaches after the fact, that's certainly, communication again is key. But when it comes to the game itself, right before and during, we want that to be the case. The last thing I want to make sure we point out is the 24-hour rule. I think this applies in life as well as to baseball and to our club. When something goes wrong, we tend to lash out. We tend to get angry immediately. We tend to say and do things we probably regret if that becomes the case. So we're asking, hey, if all of a sudden your son gets pulled out, your son isn't playing, a decision or something happens or is made that is totally inappropriate in your eyes or it becomes something that you are upset about, we need you to apply that 24-hour rule. You need to sleep on it, you need to chew it through, you need to analyze it, you need to take some time before you get to the coach or you come to me or whatever the situation may be. And I think we all would agree that when that becomes the case, that it's much more productive, it's much easier to talk through whatever it is, and things are going to turn out much better than if we all of a sudden go screaming and yelling at the coach or whoever it may be at the time it happens. So please, please, please make that part of the situation of your team, of the BT culture here in regards to how we handle things that go on. Guys, we are going to make every effort to make this program better than you hopefully think that it is or that we want it to be. We are going to go above and beyond the call to run this program the best way we can and to deliver on every single, I don't want to say promise, but everything that we have laid out and that we desire for you guys to have and for your sons to be. At the same time, are we perfect? Are mistakes going to be made? Are decisions going to be made that you don't understand or that you don't agree with? Absolutely, there will. So to me, we're on an 11.5-month adventure starting very soon here. There's, again, going to be things that happen outside of our control. Look at this COVID situation. Everything right now is a bit chaotic and fluid. We're going to press through and we're going to do whatever we can and whatever we have to do to make sure that we're getting these tournaments in, that we're providing the service that we're dedicated to providing. But at the same time, things are going to happen outside of our control, and we appreciate your patience, and we appreciate you guys rolling with us and trusting us as we continue to work through whatever situations come up over the next 11.5 months. All right, I am just about done, guys. I would say when it comes to communication with me, I'll be very upfront with you guys. I can get a little bit tough to get a hold of, especially this time of year in July, August, and September. With this 123-team fall league I got going on right now, with resetting of the club as we're doing right now, things get pretty chaotic, and I do the best I can to make sure I'm getting back with you guys. I think, to me, just so you know, the best way to communicate with me, if you need to get a hold of me a little bit quicker, would be a text. I do try and pay attention to those and try and get back to you a little bit quicker, especially if it's something that needs to be addressed right away through there. A phone message or an email, it's going to take me a little bit of time, whether it's 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours to get through all that. I typically sometimes am gone in the morning and not home until later at night. I'm not somebody that checks my email on my phone very often. I'll just be upfront with you about that. I'm more checking my texts and trying to keep up with whatever's going on that day and whatever fires have to be put out immediately. When it comes to an email or a phone message, I may not get to that right away. So just know that about me if you need to get something a little bit quicker. But if it takes me 24 or even as much as 48 hours to get back to you, whether it's an email or a phone message, hopefully you can give me a little bit of latitude there. I'm not ignoring you. I also need to let you know that I'm a processor. I'm somebody that thinks things through before I respond. So it kind of goes back to that 24-hour rule. So if you ask me something and it's something that I need to chew on, it's something that I maybe need to talk to the coach about before I get back to you, that's why I'm not getting back to you. It's because I'm chewing on it or I'm waiting on information before I get back to you. So please don't feel like I'm ignoring you if you don't hear back from me right away. Do not be afraid to hit me up a second time. If for some reason I lost your email or I get so many and I didn't star it or I just overlooked it, please hit me up again or text me again. Don't feel like you're bothering me if I don't get to you within 24 to 48 hours. Please hit me up a second time, and I can pretty much guarantee you if I get it a second time, I will get back to you immediately. So I want to make sure I'm upfront about that when it comes to communicating with you guys. And to me, that word, communication, is huge. I think it eliminates and alleviates a lot of trouble, a lot of problems in life as well as with our club, the better we do that. On our end, of course, and on your end as well. So we're going to make every effort to make sure that we're doing a good job at that, whether it's the coaches communicating with you or myself. And please make that a two-way street, because I think the more that we do that, the smoother things are going to go, the better things are going to go when it comes to the program in general. When it comes to the paperwork, guys, I think we've asked you for that by this coming Sunday. We're talking to you here, and it's, what is the date today, Wednesday?
25th.
25th of August.
Tuesday.
Didn't even mention that at the beginning. So by the 30th, we're trying to get all that from you. If for some reason you're having trouble getting that to us right away, or you still have some questions, make sure you let me know as soon as you can. But let's try and get that as soon as possible. One thing I need to make sure you guys are aware of is that info sheet that will have their uniform information on it, their pant size, their uniform size. That's pretty important, because I need to order fall uniforms in about a week. So I've got to have that from you so that we can get that ordered on time so that you guys have the fall stuff you're going to need for these tournaments in the next 2 to 3 to 4 weeks as you get started. So please get that stuff to us immediately. Again, if you have questions on the payment plans, we can take that offline, whether it's Kelly or myself. It's pretty much monthly or quarterly once we get that first 1,000 from you guys. And if there's special circumstances, I know a few of you may not be able to play in the fall. A few of you are going to have extenuating circumstances due to an injury. So we're going to take that individually or separately. And I think most of you that are in that situation I've talked to already. But if that becomes something we need to talk about, please let me know. But otherwise, hopefully you guys have got all the information you need in order to get that to us in a timely fashion here so we can get started. Kelly will start putting together official rosters and all the information that we'll need behind the scenes in order to send to the tournaments and so on and so forth, and obviously get to Nate to put up on the website so that we can keep really good track of what's going on, and we want to do the best we can to promote your kids when it comes to the website, when it comes to these college coaches, when it comes to what we can do to make sure that we're doing what we can for them when it comes to exposure. So whatever you can do for us to get stuff to us in a timely manner, we very much appreciate it. With that, I think that's about it, guys. Birth certificates is another thing that we'll try and get from you. Sometimes we do need to have those at a certain tournament, and it's something it's good for the coaches to carry around just in case. So please plan on at least PDFing that to me or getting a copy of that to me as well sometime soon with the paperwork. But I think that's it, guys. I think that's it. Nate, anything I'm forgetting? I'm sorry this took probably close to an hour or whatever it's been, but there was a lot here, and hopefully this was very beneficial for us to be able to share all this with you guys. I am extremely excited about getting started, more so this year than any other year. I've been very impressed with the tryouts we had over the past 3 or 4 weeks, with the teams that we've put together, with what the coaching staff has turned out to be here, both game coaches and winter staff. So I think a lot of you have made the same comment that you're looking forward to and excited about getting started, and that's coming up very quickly. So again, as you have questions, please let us know, but otherwise you should have the information you need moving forward, and we will take it from there, guys. So thank you again for watching this, for being with our club, for being on board with us, and for entrusting your sons to us, to the coaches, to our program, to be able to do whatever we can to help them on the journey that they're on to get to where they want to go. So with that being said, guys, have a great week, and we will be in touch. Obviously, be looking for emails and things as we get going here over the next week or two. But thanks again for being a part of things, and we will talk to you soon.